both are really interested in ideas of how to live a free life, and we were really looking at actual living situations. Like, what does it look like to live in a free way? And one of the things that we really feel strongly about is that the more you reduce the materiality of your life, the more small scale you can be inside of your living, the less financial overhead you have, the less you have to work to then support all of the large house and the big car and the fancy, So by making this small house, what we've done is we've made it a really affordable but beautiful place to live that we feel like anyone could approach. I mean, I feel like also inside of the small home is it's not just that it's small scale when you build it, but that the upkeep of it is then really affordable. So you have less overhead as far as utilities. You're not heating or cooling such a big space, and they can be made super efficient. They can even be made with solar panels and water catchment systems and all these other resources that can make living on a day-to-day basis inside the house really economical. But then also there's the ongoing maintenance. Anybody that's owned a home knows that it takes there's all this ongoing upkeep inside of it. And so if your roof is really big and you need a new roof, that's a big expense. And if you just even have a big yard you have to mow, and if you have, the larger things are, the more time and money they take. And so by downsizing and making this very efficient living, it makes it very affordable, not just to build, but to maintain an ongoing kind of way. We're also really interested in the land that the house then sits on. So this is a small urban lot, but provides ample enough space to not only have your yard be an extension of your living space so that you can then use it for going outside on beautiful weather and being with your friends or just being with a garden, but actually having a garden. And that is both a garden that provides beauty in terms of what it's giving back and what it's bringing in to the design element, but also that provides a functionality of growing food. There's beautiful edible landscaping out there that can sort of do both parts of that. And then there's just outright growing vegetables and growing your own food. And there's plenty of space on this property for that. So the design is really about beautiful and efficient living. And inside of that, that means the house as it's built and designed, and then also the exterior landscape and how we use that property to maximize efficiency and economy. I mean, growing your own food is one of the most expensive things that we all spend our monthly paychecks on. And so if there's a way to grow your own food and reduce that, and then almost every time I've grown food, I've grown too much. It's really hard to not grow too much, so then that's also something that you can then give back to your neighbors and sort of build bridges in your community with.
Well, on the material side, we find that if you really do look around, a lot of construction companies, they have a lot of leftover materials from previous projects that they're not using. So once you get access to that, it's amazing what you can get. You get doorknobs, windows, doors, siding, just even insulation. Simply going on Craigslist, you can even let the public know what your projects are, and people will have things in the garage that they'd be more than happy to give up, cans of partially used paint. Other resources that we can also go to is Habitat Restore, other nonprofit organizations that have materials that they want to sell to benefit their projects, and so forth. There's really no reason to buy brand new.
Buy everything new and be very independent, or we can reach out to the community that already exists around us so that we're actually utilizing the resources that we all have access to that are just lying around doing nothing, and really making it a collaborative effort. And really all that takes is talking to people, which is maybe something we need to do more of anyway. So the more you talk to people, the more of a network you grow and the more opportunity you create for yourself. I also would like to add that when we did come to B&A with our project ideas, they were so enthusiastic. They got right on it and they showed a lot of excitement for the project. And I think if people we want to work with, we want it to be meaningful for them too. And we really felt that they felt this was a meaningful endeavor.
So basically we got a lot of bids from many different architects wanting to do this project, and being it's little, they assumed it's simple, but we learned that we actually do require an experienced architect who knows not only know about how to construct large houses, but constructing small houses is even harder because you have to maximize the limited resources and space you got in there. Orientation of the house is a big deal because it heats up a lot quicker than a larger house with more spaces and has more walls that could affect those things. Another thing is that being a tiny house and being new in this community, we needed somebody who was experienced with working with the city and knowing and to streamline the whole process and knowing what the city was looking for so we could get this project and make it a reality. But I really think a big contributing factor that stands them apart from other architectural companies is that they're personally interested in our project and our objectives and about the idea of sustainability. They understand what we want, and from their experiences, they're able to educate us as well about the tiny house that we may have not considered about.
There are people that are going to be really appropriate for this size and this lifestyle, and some that are not. Just like with everything, there's no one answer for everybody. But I think that this has a lot of potentiality. I think that this can be something for those that like to try new things and are kind of more eclectic and are interested in downsizing and smaller living, people that are interested in environmental issues. But I don't think it just has to be inside of that one pocket of people. I think that if those of us that are doing this first can sort of become living examples of this, then I think lots of people will see that this is really not as outrageous as it sounds. Again, people live in small apartments all the time. So we just sort of have to convert these ideas of what is comfort into this model. You know, we have this idea that comfort and also that some sort of sense of success or economic value has to do with bigger. Like, as if you get bigger, you're better off in life and you've done more and you're more successful. But scale doesn't have to represent value. And so I feel like this is a great way to show the real value of home ownership and of quality of living in a much more compact way that I think lots of people will get into.
Currently, the city has passed a rule that you're able to build a home at a minimum 100 square foot, so nothing smaller than that. I haven't heard anybody really doing that, and tiny houses on wheels are currently not legal. So there are a couple houses that are coming up, and I haven't got a chance to really see them, but there are interest in it, obviously, and there may be a spots of precedence here and there. It's just that it's not publicized, so I'm not aware about how they perceive what their philosophy is for living small.
There seems to be a lot of talk about how to adapt city codes and kind of bring them up to this trend, because it's not that the city has done anything wrong, it's just that this is sort of a new concept in the way we want to live and build, and so how do we get the city to come along with us? And because the codes aren't there, there's not a lot of examples of this. We kind of started off thinking we would put our tiny house on wheels and realized that if we wanted to still be inside the city, that wasn't going to really happen. And that's how we kind of adapted to what we have now.
Well,
For many reasons, not just geography, but a lot of the people have been pushed out of the core. And there is certainly a move to sort of rejuvenate our city, our urban cores and our city centers. But looking at our neighborhoods, where if you look around at a lot of urban neighborhoods and neighborhoods inside of the city, every few lots there's a abandoned structure or a vacant lot altogether. And what that does, it almost creates holes inside of our neighborhoods. I mean, there's statistics that talk about how vacant lots and blighted homes and those things draw more crime and reduce the value of the other homes in the neighborhood. And so there's sort of those things on a financial and functional level. But I think it also does something to the spirit of the neighborhood when it's filled with holes. You sort of all of a sudden have these missing links between the streets and between the neighborhoods. And the more that you can bring into those missing holes something that is viable and beautiful and sort of has a richness to it, then you're helping really contribute back to and bring those neighborhoods back to life. And well, at least that's our hope. We hope that we are then able to contribute and help revitalize our little corner of the city. I think it would be amazing to see a little tiny house community because you could then sort of reflect the different ways that tiny houses fit different personalities inside of one community. They could be different. They could all be the same, but they could all be a little different. And also, they could share resources. They could share gardening resources. They could share solar power resources. They could They could all contribute to water systems that are captured and purified and distributed. Or there's sort of, it kind of goes back to that connectivity idea. When you're living small again, you are using your outdoor space as living space, and so you're finding a way to reconnect with people. You know, are all just sort of tucked away in your home. Sometimes you look down, you know, those neighborhood streets, and you're like, where are the people?
Yep.
They're all in their giant houses. They've disappeared in there, and likely they're not all in the same room. They're spread out all inside those giant houses. I mean, there's something about the small that brings you together, and that doesn't mean like cram you all into a little space to be together. It just means that you sort of use your space in a way that engages others more and is sort of optimal for that. And I think a tiny house community would be optimal for creating really intimate communities that are really self-sustaining and have a lot of beauty inside of them. You know, not just physical beauty, but like sort of a human beauty.